Good day everybody, today I have a little bonus video for you. Thanks to Matt McMuscles, I was given a code for his video game, The TakeOver. If you're interested at all after watching this, please consider showing him and the development team some love by purchasing the game. Also, if you haven't already, you should seriously consider checking out Matt's YouTube page. I love his What Happened series. It's amazing stuff, very insightful, with a good dose of humor, and really good to binge. It was all I watched when I was recording footage for my Pokemon Gen 5 Part 1 and Part 2 videos last summer, and dealing with all those goddamn floods. Anyway, thank you Matt for giving me some love, so now let's give your game some love and see what we have here. Okay, so this is The TakeOver by Pelican 13. Don't know what happened to the other 12, but hey, like they always said, 13th time is the charm. But to be serious here, I guess you could say second time? This isn't Pelican 13's first foray into the scene. There was originally this racing game they were working on called 90s Arcade Racer. It was a Kickstarter project, one that managed to raise its money on top of that. But after handing over publishing duties to Nicholas, the same company that milks Cave Story to death, the game would eventually go MIA. While there was no concrete statement from Nicholas over the fate of 90s Arcade Racer, now labeled as 90s Super GP, it's become increasingly obvious that behind-the-scenes mismanagement and growing controversy concerning Nicholas's owner Tyrone Rodriguez being an absolute shitbag that pretty much sealed the racing game's fate. Though the store page still has the game marked as coming soon, apparently it's been like this for nearly 2 years, it is very unlikely that the game will actually be released, wasting both the developer and supporters' time and money. If you like more insight concerning the inner machinations of how Nicholas sloppily handled things over the last few years, I can't recommend Jason Schreier's article on Kotaku enough. That should give you all the info you need, and with that said, I know I did a round 2 on Cave Story not terribly long ago, and while I still think the game is great to play, if you have to play one version, get the original freeware release. Support Studio Pixel, not Nicholas, at least until it gets better management, if that ever happens. But hey, silver lining, that didn't stop Pelican 13 from trying again, and here we are. We got ourselves a beat 'em up, and I do love me a good beat 'em up, a good time to be a fan of this genre too. We got this game, River City Girls, and the upcoming Streets of Rage 4. Can't wait for that to come out sometime this century. The TakeOver borrows many cues from titles like Final Fight and Streets of Rage. You can clearly see it less than 1 minute into the game if you played either of those. You can argue it's to the point of being derivative, and that might rub you the wrong way if you're looking for something more original. But seeing as the game highlights and celebrates that it's heavily inspired by those games, and as a big fan of Streets of Rage specifically, more accurately the second game in the series, I don't really care as long as the game functions and is damn fun to play. I know what I'm getting to before I boot the game up, the store page makes it clear, so am I in for a good time? In the crime-ridden hellhole that is Steel Haven, gangs that are usually disorganized have suddenly banded together to take over the city. Steel Haven police officer Ethan Rivers and his girlfriend Megan Brooks are distraught to learn that their adopted daughter Vanessa has been kidnapped from under their nose. Okay, Megan sounds more distraught than Ethan. Ethan kind of takes the news as, shit, must be a Monday kind of way. The hardened life of a cop in Steel Haven, I take it. So they gear up and spring into action while also bringing along their friend Connor Grayson, a big musclehead who's just happy to be there, a little unhinged, and eager to get his hands on any gang member in the way. There's also this dude named Jackson who you unlock after beating the game the first time, and I don't know if he's supposed to have any significance in anything. He doesn't show up in cutscenes, so as far as I know, he's likely just a shout out to Adam from Streets of Rage. Or maybe Skate, if he ate Adam. You complete a stage, beat up the gang leader, get information from them that leads you to your next destination, and the cycle repeats until you finally manage to rescue Vanessa. Very basic plot, which is what I was expecting heading into this, given the games it took inspiration from. A little confused by the decision to add a kill or spare choice at the end, considering that one is clearly a good ending and the other isn't. It's probably just another homage to Streets of Rage, but if this game ends up getting a sequel with the same characters, I assume, kinda invalidates the entire point. The illustrated cutscenes are nice to look at. I dig the comic book style presentation, the way it's animated, and the voice acting isn't bad either. That said, sometimes the performances don't quite match the tone and direction of the cutscene, and that takes me out of it. And the sound mixing is kinda all over the place. I have an easier time hearing some folks more than others, and it feels like there wasn't enough time spent on balancing it. It's also pretty obvious every voice actor and actress recorded their lines with their own microphones, and it sounds a little odd when it's all put together. Given the minimum story, this really isn't a big deal, but something I did want to highlight. I did find the graphics weird at first glance. I thought I was controlling action figures until I realized, oh wait, it's kind of like the same style as Killer Instinct. They're basically renders that move like sprites, and in motion it looks pretty damn good. The backgrounds are nicely detailed with particle effects enhancing the environment, and the over-the-top graphical overlays do well in enhancing the presentation. It really helps when the game knows what it wants to be and has a solid basis for a structure from the start. So you can choose between Ethan, Megan, and Connor when you start a new game, each specializing in specific stats. If you want all-around balance, you choose Ethan. If you want someone a little speedier, you choose Megan. And if you want raw power, you choose Connor. While there's more nuance to each character regarding range and strength, no matter who you pick at the end of the day, you're capable of performing similar feats. Every character can punch and kick, and you can can combine those to perform more varied combos. In one playthrough as Megan, I think I discovered a potential infinite that doesn't work against bosses, seeing as they can break combos whenever you try to deal too much damage at once, but against common thugs and those wacky security drones that I'm sure come standard when you join a gang, you can wallop them to your heart's content as long as you keep the rhythm going. At the end of a combo, you can slam thugs to the ground, or you can knock them into the air, and then you can follow up with some more attacks if you got the reflexes to pull it off. By simply walking up to enemies, you can grab them and toss them aside, or into other bad guys and do some massive damage that way. You can dash across the stage to get a move on, you can do a dash attack to follow up on that, or if you're Connor, you just straight up give them a tornado DDT, I love that. You also got your crowbars and your swords that give your hands a rest. If you beat enemies in rapid succession, you build up a meter for this super attack that acts as a screen nuke. You know, when you don't feel like doing anything and decide, just drop an airstrike on everything. We've all been there, I'm sure, but on top of this, if you also play well enough, you also build up this rage meter that, when filled, allows you to temporarily power up, greatly increasing your strength and makes you completely invincible, by virtue of actually letting your characters block attacks, which you can't do normally, and I find that a little strange. I checked the button configuration to see if there was a block button to see if I missed something, but nope, there ain't one there, and rage is the only time you can do that. But you block everything while raging out, from punches, explosions, gunfire, even the wrath of God. And finally, you also just straight up have a gun. Nothing fancy about that, you have a gun. Just sprinkle a little cocaine on the corpses, you'll be fine. You need ammo to use them, and you can find plenty of unbreakable objects, but in a pinch, this can help take out multiple goons at once or pick them off safely from a distance. The fighting mechanics, I want to say, are pretty robust. More than what I was expecting, really. Combining all these maneuvers and tactics makes for one satisfying beat-em-up, I find. Whether they're common criminals, knife goons that go ape shit, mercenaries with guns, big old chunky chunk fucks, or literal hellspawn demons, what the hell, Stage 5, there are multiple ways to handle this situation. If I could recommend something before you begin though, you're better off playing the game on the hard difficulty. I did 4 playthroughs for this review, once on easy, twice on normal, and once on hard, and in normal and easy, the game gets pretty mindless, even for beat-em-up standards. The game gives you many ways of laying on the offense, and it feels good using them, and that's what should matter, but with 1 or 2 exceptions in boss fights, nothing stands much of a chance, especially in co-op. Holy shit. Elliot and I tore through everything with little to no struggle on normal difficulty. We still had fun, we body slammed everything, we sandwiched robots several times, good times were had. And you know what, if it's a little on the easy side, that also means it's a great entry point for those that never played a beat-em-up. You have infinite lives, in a matter of speaking. Yeah, you have a life counter, but they don't really matter besides high score. That resets to 0 if you lose them all, so if you're looking to get to the top of the endgame leaderboard, that might suck. But you still progress from your last checkpoint, and the game is generous with those. And if for some reason you can't complete the game in one sitting, you can pick up where you left off with the stage selection screen, although, I don't know, I sort of find this screen a little bare. No real interface or descriptions besides the picture of the area. I think it would have helped if these were labeled as, stage 1 through 7, section A to C. Minor nitpick, but I think about those kind of things. I do have a couple of legit sour points. I already mentioned the issues I took with the cutscene presentation earlier. There's the matter of the game balance being skewed on the easy side, even on normal difficulty. And then there's the couple of times where the game decides to change things up for no other reason than because. You got this car section where you mow down vans with Connor's Gatling gun, and you need to keep destroying them to extend your time limit. The car's control is a little loose, and positioning for ramp jumps feels awkward. Also, in a game where we're looking for our kidnapped daughter, is it really wise to be blowing all these vans up? Shit, as far as we know, Vanessa could be in one of those things. And towards the end of the game, you're also in this fighter jet flying towards the final stage. And while I like it more than the car section, reminds me a lot of Afterburner or the Sky Chase sequence from Sonic Adventure 1 actually, it's still a sudden gameplay shift, and I'm always a little weary of those. You're beating folks up, and now you're suddenly flying a plane in one stage. But then there's stage 5, when you're suddenly thrown into I don't know what the hell is going on here. Demons? Werewolves? And you have access to a gun with infinite ammo all of a sudden. Is this supposed to be Mortal Kombat? Doom? Killer Instinct? All the above? I know Streets of Rage had that freaky jungle sequence with that alien head, but I always took that because we were in an amusement park. It was part of an attraction, I think. But here it's like, there's demons, there's arrow storms. Yeah, I don't get it, sadly. Luckily, these are only a handful of instances in what's otherwise a fundamentally solid beat-em-up, and as a fan of the genre, I do recommend it. There's no online play though, so you'll need some local friends and family to get the most out of co-op, and you're only allowed 1 extra player. In a day and age where you might be used to 4-player co-op, that might seem a little limiting to some, but regardless, it's a fun time throughout, looks great, got good music, and there's a couple of things to do outside of arcade mode, like a challenge mode where you complete stages with different stipulations, and a survival mode where you try to get as far as you can without dying. It's $20 at the time of this upload. I know that could be a little steep for some, but compared to other indie titles that ask for just as much, I think you're getting your money's worth. It's not very long. It took me a little over 2 hours to complete it my first time, with a co-op playthrough taking only an hour and a half. But if you're itching for a beat 'em up to help pass the time, the TakeOver should satiate that need. Matt, if you happen to be watching, thanks again for the code. I had a great time. My brother Elliot had a great time. And here's hoping that everyone that downloads the game also has a great time. That's it. I'm going to get right back to work on the Kirby video. That should be ready in a few more days here. So I'll see you guys next time. Thank you all for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic night, and take care.